Hey guys, and welcome back to the Empowered Era. So, I'm your host, Victoria, and here again we talk about all things mindset, business, faith, wellness, and just ultimately becoming the highest version of yourself in every season of your life, right? So if you're new here, this is your space for transformation. We're not just saying motivational quotes, but we're applying real life applications to things that we go through. And so that kind of shifts how you think, how you move, and how you show up in your life. So today's episode is one that I think is going to be foundational for everything that we do in life. We're talking about vision statements and goal setting. So, because if you don't know where you're going, you'll spend a lot of time being busy, but not necessarily being aligned with what you need to do. So let's get into it. The power of a vision statement. So, a vision statement is not just something you write down to sound inspirational, it's literally the blueprint for your life. It's the picture that you hold in your mind that guides your decisions, determines your discipline, your standards, and your direction in your life. And I need you to understand something very clearly. You don't drift into alignment on purpose. You have to build it literally intentionally. So, a vision statement is how you create that intentionally. So, why this matters? What you consistently speak, think, and believe becomes your direction. That's why people say be careful what you say about yourself. Be careful about that negative self talk. Even be careful what you allow other people to speak over you because it goes so much deeper than that. It's not just about the positive thinking or the positive affirmations. You know what I mean? It's literally about forming your identity. Your words begin to shape your expectations. Your expectations shape your actions. So then your actions will shape your actual results. So when you write a vision statement, guys, you're not just writing something pretty, something like, oh, I can hang it on my wall. You're literally declaring who you're going to become. You're declaring your identity. So, again, I want to be clear here. You don't need to have everything figured out to write one, okay? Because we're all learning as we go. But you just need to have clarity on the direction that you are going. So, when you have a vision statement, it's going to include a few core things. So make sure y'all write this down and then I'll do a recap. But first, you're going to cover your identity. Who are you becoming, right? Second is your lifestyle. What does your daily life look like when you become this version of yourself? Third is emotional state. How do you feel on a regular basis? Okay. Fourth is your spiritual alignment or your purpose. If that's part of your belief system, that's extremely important. Finally, number five, impact. What is your life producing or contributing to others? And when you combine those pieces, you're no longer just setting some goals, you're literally creating a life framework. Okay. So now I'll share like a portion of mine so you can kind of get an understanding what to put in practice. Again, it's not the whole thing because I want you guys to be mindful that you don't need to share everything with everybody. Sometimes you have to keep things to yourself while you're in the process of building it. So I'm 33 years old today on April 22nd, 2026. But again, I'm speaking this as if it's present tense in the future version of myself. So it starts off as I, Victoria, am 35 years old, living a life that radiates peace, purpose, and power. Every morning, I wake up feeling grateful, energized, and aligned with God's will for my life. I am walking boldly in faith, knowing that everything I touch prospers because I am living in divine alignment. And so I want to pause right there because there's something that I want you all to notice. I didn't say, I hope. I didn't say, I want to one day. I'm speaking in present tense because this is where I see myself in 2 years. And that's important because remember, your subconscious mind responds to what you declare as current reality. So when you speak in the I am, you're training your mind to align with that identity. Now, again, like I mentioned before, I don't recommend sharing everything with everyone. And again, it's not because you're hiding, but because everything doesn't need outside opinions. Again, some things need to be protected while they're being built. And then when you think about it, like not everybody deserves access to the blueprint. So, why speaking life matters. Let's talk about when you speak things into existence. Again, this isn't just like a motivational phrase, something that you do. This is literally a discipline. What you repeatedly say becomes what you normalize, and what you normalize becomes what you accept. So if you're constantly saying things like, I'm always behind, nothing ever works out for me, I can't get ahead, your brain will find evidence to prove that that's true. But when you shift your language, you shift your trajectory, right? This doesn't mean that you ignore the reality, but what it does mean is that you stop reinforcing those limitations. Instead, you start speaking from possibility, and you're giving yourself hope, even when things aren't perfect, even when things are still in the process of being built. Because again, your words are not just describing your life, they're directing it. So you're speaking into existence how you want your life to go. So if you're speaking again positively, you're saying, like, I'm gonna become a millionaire in the next 5 years, you're subconsciously telling yourself, like, okay, I got this, I got this, I got this, right? But when you do the opposite end and you're speaking negatively, you really have like power. It's really a lot of it's life and power in your tongue, life or death in your tongue, like literally. Okay. So keep that in mind. Rewind if you need to. Vision statements are extremely important. I read mine every morning to start my morning because this is who I intend on growing. This is who I intend to become. Okay. So then the next thing we're going to cover is goal setting and why it matters. Now, I'm a huge goal junkie. Like, I've been a goal junkie since I can remember. Like, short term goals, long term goals, they're all important because ultimately, if you create this sense of getting better 1% every day, you're doing something huge because you're going to look back and be like, dang, I've come such a long way. So, because with vision having a vision without goals, you're just dreaming. The goals is what's going to get you day to day to your ultimate vision, and goals without vision can feel empty, they can feel stressful. Okay, but together they create a structure. So here's something to remember: you can never miss a goal that you don't set. So let that sit for a second. Again, you can never miss a goal, a target that you don't set. A lot of people feel stuck in life, not because they're not capable, but because they're just not intentional enough. They move through life reacting instead of directing. So these goals that we set, they're going to force direction. They're going to give your life and time that you give to each goal or accomplishment you want to achieve meaning. They're going to give your energy focus, and at the end of the day, they're going to give your life measurable progress. So let's break it down: short term goals versus long term goals. For those of you who are unfamiliar or just really need a fresh slate to start over. So we got the short term goals. These are like your daily and weekly actions. So something as simple as completing a task, saving like a specific amount of money if you have a goal that way, posting content consistently. That's a big one for me. Working out a certain number of days a week, and just making a certain number of outreach attempts if you're doing like network marketing or anything like that. So your short term goals are about execution. Then we come into the long term goals. So, with the long-term goals, this is huge because it's about identity and outcomes. So, when you give these long-term goals, it's things like becoming financially stable, building a business, buying a home. It's those bigger goals. And again, you have to have those short-term goals in order to ultimately achieve those long-term goals. So, if you only focus on like long term, you'll easily get overwhelmed. You want to focus on If you only focus on short term, you'll lose direction. So you need a combination of both. And when you make these goals, please understand like goals change. We have to measure, monitor, and adjust as we go through life. And it's the same thing as far as goals. Just because you set a goal does not mean it won't change. And that's not failure on your part. If anything, it's refinement. You know, life will give you feedback. Experiences will give you different alternatives on how to achieve goals. You'll get new information. You'll grow, all the things. So sometimes, again, your goals need to adjust to match your evolution in that current season that you are in. Sometimes the mistake that we make is thinking that pivoting means that you didn't stick with something long enough. No, sometimes pivoting means you got clearer. The key is not abandoning yourself in the process. You don't want to quit just because it gets uncomfortable, but you also don't want to stay committed to something that no longer aligns with who you're becoming because, again, that balance is maturity. So keep that in mind. You know, set again, maybe 3 short-term goals, 3 long-term goals. They should align. And then again, it'll bring you to where you need to be. And then also, when you set these goals, remember to tie a date with the goal. And when you do that, you're putting it in your mind like, okay, I need to do whatever I need to do in order to achieve this goal by this deadline. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable. And yes, it will apply pressure, but I guarantee you, you will more than likely hit that goal before that date or shortly after. And I've been in different scenarios where I've tied an exact date to a goal, and that's what happened. I hit the goal right before. The student loans were forgiven right before. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different things. So make sure you're very intentional about that. But again, to bring it all full circle, because I don't want to hold y'all too long, your vision statement is your internal blueprint. Your words are going to be your alignment system, and your goals are going to be that execution plan. So, when all three are working together, your life will start to move differently, and you'll notice it, and people will notice it too. And again, it's not because things are getting easier, but because you're getting clearer on what exactly you want. And when you have that clarity, guys, it will change everything. So, again, I want to challenge you today. Don't just listen to this episode. Go write out a vision statement. Be honest and realistic with your goals, and then start aligning your daily actions with the life you say that you want. Because the truth is, again, you're not behind at all. You know, we're all in different stages of our lives. You are being built. So everything you need for your next level is already within yourself. It just needs direction. So thank you for tuning in to this Empowered Era episode. If it spoke with you, please share it with someone who needs a reset. And as always, remember this is your season to rise, realign, and walk boldly in your purpose. I'll see you guys at the next episode.